This will be a brief kind of drive-by on what we have available to us in the form of mobile apps for our phones, for our tablets. And Helen's going to talk us through, we actually have some choices. There's a student app for Canvas, and then there's a teacher app. So Helen Wilson, whenever you're ready, take it away.
Hi there, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. I know it's very busy, so the fact that you're taking some time out says a lot. And in our session, we're going to take a look at the Canvas mobile apps, both the teacher version as well as the student version. Not that you're going to be a student necessarily, but so that you understand the student experience. And there are some implications for instructors too, as far as their design of their courses, because you now need to take into account the app view as well as the teacher view. So we're going to look at how to access the app, what it looks like inside the app to get to the dashboard, access your courses, edit your content, grade, of course. There are times when you might have to use the app for that. And even how you can access student view inside the app. So I think it comes without saying too much else that we know our students are on their devices quite a bit. As a matter of fact, my own students used to share that they were on the student app more often than they were on a computer accessing Canvas. So it does mean that you need to understand what the students see because it may inform how you set up your course for the best possible experience for them. And as you'll see, you can use the app yourself to quickly grade things, to send out communications, um, and to maybe edit course content on the fly, you know, adjusting due dates, adjusting instructions, things like that. So let's get a look as to how to get started. And in short, you are looking for these symbols. So I'm going to focus on just the one in the middle here because it's in the middle. When you look for this app in the Apple iOS store or in the Google Play Store, you're looking for this specific symbol. Although I will point out the color of it has changed. So the Canvas Teacher app is now purple, but it's the same symbol. The one for students is just called Canvas, not student, just Canvas, but it is still in red. And the specific symbol here, if it helps, is a circle of students that are all working together. So I hope that helps you understand which specific symbol to look for when you type Canvas into the Google Play Store or into the Apple iOS store. So it is a free download. Feel free to download it to any of your devices, phone, tablet, whatever you use. And when you initially open it up, here's my Canvas Teacher app. You'll see a screen that looks like this with a Find My School button and then two other links at the bottom. Now, you are free to find Middle Tennessee State University here in the list. You would literally type Middle Tennessee State University. But if you were to ask my personal preference, what do you like to do? I prefer personally this option. This is the QR mobile login. It doesn't let me type anything, but I find that's easier because there are times, especially at this time of year, when typing can be more labor than you want. So if you want to use this QR mobile login, I'm going to show you how to locate it inside of your Canvas. So you would log into MTSU's Canvas, go into your account, and in the list here, you're looking for QR for mobile login. So you'll click that, and then you'll get a window like this, confirm code display. Be sure that you're all by yourself in your office. Don't have students hanging around behind you because you don't want them to connect to your account. You want you to connect to your account. So I would click on proceed, making sure that I was alone. And then a QR code pops up here that does expire in 10 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this QR login here, which opens up this window. So I'll click on next. You'll get a kind of a view as to my computer. And then you aim the QR code at your device, and it will get you right in and make the connection between your MTSU account and your mobile app account. So now here's Canvas starting to make that connection. And right off the bat, you are brought to something that looks familiar, right? A dashboard-like view with all of your courses from the web that are also accessible to you here in the app. You also notice as well that it's copying over the color coding of the color overlay on top of the course cards. And if you were to make a change to any of the course cards, for example, the color of it. So for example, if I made this red, it is also going to change the overlay inside of your mobile account too, eventually, when that thinks about it and saves it. So let's take this opportunity to do a little tour here of the app. And we're going to start in the three lines in the top right, left-hand corner of the app. So you see there yourself, a way into your file space, a way into Studio. This is helpful for you as well as for students who are needing to use their mobile devices to access Studio. As you can see, it looks basically like Studio. If I were to click on this plus create button here, right, I have a way to add videos. So if I have a video already created, I can upload it from my iPad here or paste a YouTube link. You also see there in the three lines a way into your settings because this lets you customize a little bit of your visuals. So for example, my landing page is currently set to a list of courses, but I could have it open up my inbox right off the bat on that home page. And I can also customize the system settings, which is the light theme. But a lot of people like the dark theme because they feel it's more soothing on the eyes. But you have a choice. You can do either one. You can also set your notifications here. So you see, I've got two sets. I have one that goes to my email and then a set that is push notifications. And these are notifications that go to your mobile device. So for example, I can have a notification go out to me whenever I get a inbox message from a student. And what you have set at the push notification side of things does not have to be the same as what you have set up for your email notifications, but you can customize that here. Now across the top here, you see a courses tab, which is currently open, calendar, your to-do list, which for me is very long, and then my inbox. And you can click back and forth between the tabs as needed. Here's a list of all of those courses. And these are my favorited courses, by the way, right? If you wanted to see a list of all of your courses, click on that list right there and scroll on through. Here are two courses on my iPad that are favorited, and they're also favorited here. And then in the top corner, you have a gear on the right. I've chosen to display my courses as a list, but there's also a grid if you prefer that. And here is where you can turn off the overlay. And if you want to reorder your courses, watch Canvas discussions here. I can hold down on the card and move that around. Do that one more time. You can also click on the link itself to open up the course, which is where we're heading to next. All right, so we're going to click inside of my business class. So while that's thinking about it, any questions about what you're seeing here? All right, then. Before we dig into a course, I did want to point out one thing you should know, right? There is no imperative, certainly not from Canvas. There is no imperative from Canvas that you should be building your courses in the app. Personally, I would find that quite difficult to do. So if you're thinking about how do I incorporate the app into my normal day-to-day, I would definitely use the web to build your items out, right? This is where you build your outcomes and use the RCE and, initially create those assignments and quizzes. And you can still grade, of course, inside the web. But if you happen to be out and about, especially when it's at certain times of the year, like this one, where you have to concentrate on grading, and you might have to be in the grocery line doing grades, the Canvas Teacher app would be a great place for that. This is a great way that you can change and send out communications, edit due dates, and certainly you can grade wherever you are inside the Teacher app and have all of those grades and feedback pieces be stored inside of Canvas. So let's go ahead and take a tour of a course. Here is my business course. And let's first talk about these little symbols up here at the top. I'll start with this one. This is a split view, but if I click on that symbol, I can concentrate on just the one specific module item here. Otherwise, you see what's supposed to be the course navigation list here on the left, and then shortly you're going to see some content pop up here on the right. The little gear right there lets you set the home page to be something different if you had to change that. And if you click on that, you may be able to change your yeah, you can change your nickname there. That's correct. And then you see here various areas of the course that you can access, but these are not areas that are not necessarily open to students. The people area is a good example of that. So let's first check out here our announcements area. So our first announcement is posted here just to let you see that it looks almost like you are inside of your web version of your course where you can see the content of the announcement. You can still type into the field to search for something in the three dots right there to edit the announcement, delete it, send or copy to. And you can click on those announcements here just to search for and take a look at your information. And when you click on edit here, you can type in your new content, attach items, change settings, including available from and until dates, and then hit save there. So the functionality here is pretty much like you would see if you were logged into your computer. And right up here in the corner, you have a plus button where you can create a new announcement relatively quickly. I think this depends on how quickly you type, but type in your title, your content here, check for accessibility, and then enable your desired announcement settings. Your syllabus area of your course, again, is going to look just like you have it set up in the syllabus area of your web version course. And I think this is a great opportunity for me to reiterate, when at all possible, to use the rich content editor to add your information, which is what I have done here. Um, so just so that you know, we're on my iPad, which is a pretty big screen. I also have it on my phone, an Android phone. And let me tell you that looking at resources on the app is really responsive if you're using the RCE. You see, I don't have to zoom in, zoom out, right? Like, imagine me like, kind of pinching the screen and then expanding my fingers here. I don't have to do that because the RCE takes care of making sure that the content will be appropriately sized. So when I access the same syllabus on my phone, I again don't have to do this motion to zoom in and zoom out. it is responsive and it takes care of that for me. And while you're inside of the RCE, all your images look great. Your links will work. If you had video or audio here, it can still be played. And it is, I think, the best possible experience for students. And there's an edit button here where I can edit aspects of that on the fly if I have to. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at the modules area. So you see over here, there's my module list here on the left, and I'm going to click on About Your Instructor to show you again. Since I use the RCE, everything looks really good and can be accessed. Here is my course overview page again. Everything looks great. Now, that is not to say that, there aren't times when we have to embed a document, right? It's 2 minutes before class. It's this time of year. So you may very well have to embed a document or add a document as a link in a module. I'm not condemning anybody for that. I do want to show you what it does look like to students so that you're aware though. So here I have a page that has the syllabus that is embedded as a PDF. And you see it appears to me as a link. I might have in the course a document that pops open. That's not actually possible in the app. So the student will have to click this link to be able to view it. And this is what I meant by use the RCE wherever possible. Here, it was not possible for me, due to time, energy, resources, to copy paste from the syllabus. So I had to embed this. And I am having to zoom in, zoom out with my fingers to see the full content of the syllabus. I mean, I can still access the syllabus. There's nothing wrong with that. But it does mean that students using the app are having to do something that students using the web are not. Other than that, the information looks great and is accessible here. Here, I can search from inside the document. I can even remove the file from here. You see that delete file option. And now I do want to point out here this marker tool, which is not available to students on the web, by the way. This is special to the app, whether you're using the Apple or the Android version. Students using the app can click on that marker tool and they can annotate. Yes, they can even annotate your file. Their annotations do not appear on your file, but they can annotate this for themselves to aid themselves in comprehension. So if I'm one of those students and I, really need to annotate to understand something, I can make use of a highlight tool. I can erase it. I can mark it up. I can type directly on it. I can draw shapes on it. You get the idea so that I can comprehend it and see what I need to understand about it. So that's that experience if you have a document embedded inside the RCE. If you happen to have, say, the same file, but it's attached as a module external tool, you get a really similar view like this, and you still have the capabilities to mark up the document. Here's how an external link looks. So this goes to an OpenStax textbook that is available outside of Canvas. You see, I'm told this can only be viewed from a web browser. And so it pops up this new window, which does seem to hide Canvas. So just be aware it's going to sit on top of the Canvas view so students can still read the textbook, but then they have to know to X out of this to come back to Canvas. All right, let's take a look at assignments. I'm going to go ahead and click on this assignment here. So here is an assignment that has already received some submissions and some of them have been graded. You see right here, there's a summary of what's been graded and what needs to be graded and what is not submitted. You can also see the due dates, submission types, and then the directions will be available here. I think this is also a good example of an assignment that has been optimally set up for both the app, as in app submissions, as well as for students using their computers. So I have here directions. Please annotate the syllabus and give 3 comments. And then here's the file for your convenience. So if I am using an app as a student, I can click on the file. I can mark this up, right? I can add my questions. And then I can upload that through the app as a submission if I'm using the app. On the other hand, students that are using the web are going to use a student annotation to annotate and complete the same assignment. So I'm having here a situation where students on the app are going to use mobile annotation with that function and then submit that as a file upload. Students using their computers are going to use the annotation option, type directly on top of it and submit that. Let's take a look at some other examples of an assignment, and I'm going to choose an assignment that I'd say is just a regular assignment. Just a file upload, nothing fancy. Now, though I don't have a rubric attached to this here, you can access all submissions here. We'll have to give this a minute. And hopefully we can see some rubric scores here momentarily. While that's thinking about it, any questions about the app so far? All right, let's go ahead and keep moving here. So since our submissions popped up, let's take this opportunity to look at how to grade and how to view grades. And we'll start with Bruce because his work's already been graded. So I tapped on his name there, and momentarily we should see his work show up. Ah, there we go. So you can see some annotations on there. I did annotate them while I was logged into my computer, but you also see right here your options for annotating the student's file directly. There's the markup tool. Let me click on that to show you. So here's where I can add my comment. Now that's going to mean that the student would have to click on the marker tool to view the comment itself because it doesn't pop up for them like the way that it does inside of the web version. You can also highlight. There's a strike through. There is the pen tool. And I'm not that graceful, but I did a pretty good, decent circle. I can also draw shapes on it, erase. And all of these annotations will be saved and will be viewable by the student once you post your comments. And then at the bottom here, right here, you see the grading space. So although he does have a posted grade right here, right, 35, here's where I would enter in. The comments go here. And I did attach a rubric, which is how those points came to be. And so right here, I would click on that indicator and add a note. Here's your comment for that particular criterion. And so you can go on through and type in your comments and click on the number indicating that student's level of understanding, and it all auto saves. And then your details tab here might add, I say might because it doesn't always list information, but it might list things like um, a link where you can download the student's paper from here. And then if I wanted to move forward or move on to the next student's work, you can actually swipe. So I'll go ahead and save this first. Come back in here, and then once it loads up, you can literally do this on the screen to go to the next student, and then from there you just start grading that next student's work. All right, any questions on grading inside the app? Ah, there we go. So we'll go ahead and hit swipe. Do one more just to show that you can easily get to students with that convenient movement. Right up here at the top, you see an eye, right? If you remember from our past grading sessions, the eye is where you can post or hide grades, which in this case, because Shirley's grade is posted, if I click on the eye here, means I can hide grades from the students. This is going to hide grades that have already been posted, aka hide grade changes that happened before this in the past. So I can click on that there and know that grades from this point that have already been posted will be hidden. And then when I click on done, it's going to bring me back to the list of students here. And you can see in my list of students, it's really easy to see their status like graded, missing, late. And even from here, you can hide. You can also make use of a filter here. If I just want to just see the students that have not submitted, I could. And actually, you can do precise filtering too, filter by section. And then in the corner here is an envelope. And then here is an opportunity to send a message to, in this case, the entire class. You could also do this from the inbox too, which is where we're going to head to by the end of today. All right, so let's take a look at a discussion. Unlike the assignment view, the discussion is going to look like the announcement, where it looks like you're looking at the web version of the discussion. And so here I see the prompt, and all of the replies will live here below that. You can tap on any of these, and for example, if I want to go ahead and reply to Happy, I can hit reply, enter in my reply, and then click on that button to save. There's that liking button here. There we go. And then a way for me to mark that as read or unread. There's also here 3 dots for each discussion reply where I can manage that reply. And all these options, by the way, are also available in the web version. So if I wanted to say directly edit a student's reply, you can. And then right here, I can open this in SpeedGrader, which again will bring up this new screen that sits on top of Canvas. And the view of the student's discussion replies, again, look like as if you were looking at the web version. But if you did attach a rubric, the rubric will be accessible here. As you saw, you can enter in your comments, type in the score, that's possible. And then you would hit done, and then you would swipe to go on to the next student. And then as far as quizzes are concerned, let me find a good quiz. Here's one here. Because the new quizzes tool is what we call an LTI, a plugin that works with Canvas, when you open the quiz, it will, like with the discussion, bring up a new window. And in this new window, you can view all aspects of your new quiz to the point of even adding new questions. Editing the instructions is still possible. Adjusting quiz settings. You can access the moderate tab, reports and exports. So it looks just like you were accessing it inside of your course. If I wanted to access SpeedGrader for any, say, written questions, you would just click on the submissions link right here. And that'll bring you to that same submissions list by student that you saw, and then a way for me to click on each student and see their responses for each of their quizzes here. So really similar to that. And as you scroll up and down your modules list here, you can easily see when things are published. That's kind of a telltale sign. Anything that appears grayed out, like this assignment here, doesn't necessarily mean they're not published. They are published, but that you cannot unpublish it because there are student submissions in it. If you were to access the three dots for a specific item, you have that option to unpublish if you haven't received any submissions to it. But you can see, right, the app is really clearly designed for module design. I can open and close modules. And then to have that specific item on the right is really helpful. So I can be in a certain module here and see item 1.1 here. Really keeps myself organized. Now, if you did want to see the student view of the app version of your course, you see right down here, you have a student view option, but it says open in Canvas app. And that's because we're asking that even as an instructor, you download, please, the student app, even if you're not a student, because it's the way that you can access the Canvas view as student view. So you're looking for a red version of that symbol so that when you tap on that link inside the teacher app, it lets you see the student view of the same course. And you can see right off the bat, for example, not all of my course navigation options are visible to students, which is what I want. And you're told constantly that you're in test student view with the pink circle. So here's your opportunity to check out your homepage, click on links, click on videos, view your syllabus as it looks to students. And then here's that module view. And I'm going to point out here, do you notice these little circles here in the module view? That's because I have requirements set up. So when I complete that requirement, for example, view this. So this is me viewing the same page, right? A little check mark appears here to tell me that I've taken care of business. So here's an implication as far as your course design is concerned. Because module requirements are clearly marked in the app, I would recommend that you use module requirements in your course design. Remember, they're called conditional release items in D2L, to make sure that students can be led through the items in the course that they must interact with. Oh, here's a great example of that because this has a prerequisite on it, and I have not done everything inside the welcome module. I cannot move on to the week one module. And then once I have done those requirements, I can go into week one and go through the course in the way that you ask me to. All right. Any questions about the student app? All right. Let's walk through the other aspects of the teacher app before we take a little deeper dive into the student app here. Let's take a look at the calendar. So over here on the left, you see some buttons across the top. The three lines here will actually bring you back into the initial menu close to the top. There's that little canvas symbol, which directs you to here. And then this little plus button here lets you add an event. And you can choose a to-do item for your own to-do list or add an event directly from the app. So project office hours, for instance. Add a date. Indicate like when that announcement, indicate when those office hours are happening. Sorry about that. Indicate the frequency, and then the specific academic calendar to which this belongs. So this is going to bring up a list of courses, and you would pick the course. So calculus, anthropology, French class, pick that from the list that appears there. And then once you have all of your details, you would click on add, and that works just like adding a calendar event from the web. So it will automatically be posted to student calendars. You also see here this particular event, the one for tomorrow, has a little dot underneath it because there's an event there that's already saved. So when I click on that day, I can right away view that item. And in this case, it's an assignment. And this brings me directly to the assignment instructions where I can see it. And if it's tomorrow and I have submissions, I can start to grade from there. And then right here, forgot to mention that, you can edit the assignment directly from here or within the assignment space inside the module. And then that little check mark here actually leads you to SpeedGrader, which we've seen already. Now, clicking on that to-do item there at the top, I know I have 83 things to do. This leads you to all of the assignments across all courses that you have a membership in as a teacher. And you're even told, I think this is nice, the number of submissions that needs to be graded. So I'll go here to this Introduction to Business Class Management Traits assignment to show you that you can even access the SpeedGrader from here. You see? So it led me directly to that one student, right? Britta. And I can go ahead and start to grade it from here. So I could tap on that little area here, view comments. And then move on to the next item on my to-do list. And then right here is that inbox area. So just like with the calendar area, right, I can go back into the account area or to create a brand new inbox message through the plus button. So I can just kind of use my mobile device, choose the specific course to which this announcement goes to. And I've got a lot of courses, so it's going to take a little while for it to pick a class, so we'll skip that. And then you can type directly inside of the message box. You can even attach a file. In fact, wherever you see a paperclip in Canvas, you can always upload an item, take a photo, or attach from your Canvas files is the very last option down here at the bottom. And then if I click on one of these threads, like this first thread here, you can see the full thread, and then these left-facing arrows are invitations to go ahead and respond to that particular aspect of the thread. I do believe even here, yeah, you see that little paperclip. You can even create a video message, an audio message if you didn't want to type, or to upload a file from your laptop, from your mobile device. And then in the three dots up there at the corner, again, you have other ways to reply to the student and forward it and archive it. So you have a lot of great opportunities to keep up your communications with students when you're on the go. All right. So before we just take a quick tour of the student-specific app, we will not look at the parent app today. Any questions about anything you've seen inside of the app? All right. So I'm going to hit the home button on my iPad here, and I'm going to open up the student app. And actually, I'm going to log out of my student view because I want to access it as I was a student and not use student view for that. So it's actually quite similar to what you expect inside of the teacher app. They have a three lines area to where they access their own settings, their own file space, their own studio space. If you've got a course that supports in-person activities to where you want them to, for example, video themselves doing something, they can do that from here. So they can create a video using the built-in software inside of their device and then upload that to Studio directly. They have the same files area too. And they would connect to the app through their account in the same way I just showed you, which is to use the QR mobile login. So here is this student's comparable business course, right? You saw the teacher side of the course just now. And you're able to see here that the student has turned on the grade indicator. So she knows right away where she stands. That can be turned on or off. So right here, I think it is inside the three lines here, they can manage their dashboard settings. And this is where they turn on or off the grades listing on each card. And you already knew that they can change their overlay here and their view of their courses. They also have a calendar area and a to-do area. And then clicking inside of a course card here, the home page is visible right off the bat, but they investigate, of course, just those areas of the course you have allowed them to see, to where they can click on a link to say an announcement and see it, right? View all aspects of the syllabus. Here's that module view that you've seen previously. And do remember, right, about requirements. Adding requirements and prerequisites really guides students through the module and ensures that they have completed all requirements before they can move on to the next module. So here are those items that this particular student has already done. But they haven't done this item, which is why there's a little gray circle for that. So here's her view of that embedded document just to show you they have the access to the annotation options right here. All those options are also visible if you have linked that file as an external tool. So I'll erase this just to show you that. And then when accessing things like an assignment, let me find one. They can see all aspects of the assignment, including the directions, which are here. Their number of attempts, and this student has already successfully submitted, but it has not yet been graded. If it's been graded, they can click on the submission and feedback link to go to and view your annotations, your comments, and your rubric assessment. And if there are sufficient attempts on the assignment, there's a resubmit assignment button. And then a way to go to the previous item inside the module or to the next item in the module. And so here is some feedback that has already been given. So we'll go ahead and tap on this. So here's their work here. They can also see your comments here. There's also at the very bottom, I hope you can see that, there is a little type here area because students can submit comments back to you. This is one way they can do that. They can also click on the paper clip and attach a file to their comment too, which they can do actually inside of the web version of their account. So here's their file there, and then here is their rubric assessment. And if there are comments like this first comment here, you're able to see it. And then here is the student's discussion, which they can see here. And if they need to reply to a discussion, they can, just like as a teacher could. It's the exact same functionality. They can access the three lines. Here's where they can, by the way, report discussion replies or to quote reply, go to the topic, which means view the prompt again. And then in the three lines is where they can actually view the rubric. So we click on preview rubric and see it there. So you can see like it, again, it's all optimized for mobile. So you definitely want to make use of module features. So here is a quiz. So you're aware, when a student tries to do a new quiz in the app, this is normal. They will get instructions like the quiz opens in a new web browser. So when they click on open quiz, it will bring them to new quizzes again, as if they were inside of their laptop. And although the student has used all their attempts, if they have not used their attempts, there'll be that button to where they can start a new attempt. All right. So that is the student app. Let me pause here and see if you've got any questions. I hope that was helpful just to get an idea as to what that's about. All right. I think if we have no questions, we can go ahead and end early. What do you think?
I believe you're spot on with that. Sounds good. Thank you, Helen. Thanks, Hanmeen and Lauren.
Thank you, Helen.
Thank you all.
And we'll see you soon, Helen. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.